What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. So, I heard you want to become a real estate agent. And let me guess, you heard the money is going to come to you very quickly and very easy. Now, I'm here to tell you otherwise. I'm no longer a realtor, but I used to be. And I'm going to share some things with you to let you know and let you in on the fact that being a real estate agent is anything but easy, and the money certainly does not come quickly. So, in this, I'm going to tell you about what it took to get started and why I got started, some of the challenges I faced, some of the things that worked well, and some of the responsibilities you're going to have as a realtor. And let me be clear about something. I'm not here to kill your dreams or dissuade you. I just want to let you in on the reality of being a real estate agent to help you make a more informed decision if this is the career for you or not. So, where I got started. In 2020, as we all know, that was a bad year. I had a full-time job like many of you did, and the economy got shut down and everything was all screwed up. Couldn't rely on the government to properly bail us out, and things are just kind of all over the place, and it made me nervous. I was wondering if the money was going to dry up. Was I going to be able to pay my bills? And it was a real eye-opener. And I realized I had to do something fast to increase the amount of ways that I can make money. I needed multiple streams of income. So I started going through the options of things I could do to make more money. Maybe I could do landscaping. Maybe I could do Uber Eats or DoorDash, something like that. But I kind of realized I had a lot of experience in years past as an apprentice carpenter. Did a couple kitchen and bathroom remodels with a friend of mine who was a builder. A couple decks. I really enjoyed it. But it had some conflicting schedule and stuff with my full-time job. But what I liked most was painting. And I was really good at it. And I started thinking, maybe I'll do a painting company. Now, in 2020, everything's shut down. People are told not to be near each other. So it was very hard to really invest some time and money into a business that's hands-on in your face during a time when you're supposed to be hands-off, not in people's faces. So I realized I had to do something else. So I reached out to a family member of mine who had been a real estate agent for a long time. I'm talking 20 years. Now, he's very well respected in this area, and a lot of people know him. He's won all kinds of awards, a very high-ranking person in this company. And I said, hey, would you take me under your wing? He said, yes. I said, will you help me kind of figure things out? He said, absolutely. So he told me I have to take a course and then take an exam and then a couple other things, and you'll be on your way. He didn't sugarcoat anything. He said it was going to be challenging, but I didn't really want to hear that. I thought the money was going to come to me quickly and easily. And boy, was I wrong. Now, back to this course. Before you can take the license exam in the state that I live in, yours might be different, I had to take a course. And everything was online, and this course was actually fantastic, and it was really cheap. Now, I'm not an MIT engineer, but I'm certainly not a dummy. And this course came to me very easily. It was $600. I got it done in a couple weeks, passed it no problem. Took my certification, submitted to the state. They got me going on the exam, gave me the green light. I took the exam, and it was a lot of math and geometry, things that actually don't really have anything to do with real estate. You'll see memes about that. What they prep you for the exam is this stuff called like mets and bounds. It's like measuring out lots and acreages and all these things that, in my opinion, don't really have to do with real estate. Now, I passed that pretty easily. I'm pretty good at math and geometry. And here I am thinking the course was easy, it was cheap, the exam was easy, it wasn't too expensive for that. I'm licensed now. I'm good to go. I'm going to be Realtor of the Year. Well, the course and the exam don't really help you in preparation of becoming a realtor. All right, but now I was licensed. I reached back out to that family member, said I'm ready to go. He said, well, a few more things you got to do. You have to be part of a team, what's called a brokerage. Someone on your team has to have what's called a broker's license. And I had an interview, and I did get the job. And a lot of people on the team were fantastic, really nice, smart, experienced, knowledgeable people. But something I realized and I was told was that any commissions I make, I have to cut, say, 20% back to them. And at first I was like, more money out of the door. Here I am trying to make money, get a second stream of income, and I just have money flying out the door. But in return for cutting them a percentage, I had access to all these advertising tools, marketing tools, coaches, a whole bunch of services and resources that were very helpful. Now I'm on the team. I'm part of the brokerage. I got my license. I'm educated from that course. Now I think I'm going to start drumming up business and finding clients. Well, here comes more money out of the door. I had to sign up for what's called errors and omission insurance, very expensive, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I had to be part of the local union or association of realtors in my state, in my area. So now there's three things: the insurance, the two association of realtors, and the fourth one was I had to sign up for the MLS. And that's a database of all the properties in your area. And to be an effective realtor, you need access to all that data to help you make comps, like comparables, to see what a house's valuation is and what public record has for square footage, bathrooms, bedrooms. It's this huge database that you need access to. And this MLS essentially had a monopoly on all this data. So you were pretty much forced to sign up for their services, something that didn't sit well with me. So now I'm in the hole about $3,000. And once again, I'm doing this to make money. I'm in the hole $3,000 and I don't have a single client in the pipeline. But I'm all lined up. I'm ready to go. I'm licensed. I'm part of a team. I got my insurance. I have access to the data. Let's get going. Here's where I started trying to figure out ways to drum up business. And there's a whole bunch of ways you can do it. There's cold calling. There's door knocking, there's mailers. You can pay money monthly to Zillow, Redfin, these big companies. You can pay them monthly and they'll send clients your way. Clients that went onto their app because they're popular and they didn't have a realtor available, and you're paying them for leads and they send you the lead. That's how you get clients sometimes. And there's a whole bunch of ways that I might be forgetting. And maybe you've used before. So if you're a realtor and you've got experience, and drop a comment below to help out some of these prospective realtors, that'd be great. So I didn't do cold calling. I heard it wasn't very effective, but never say never. But I did try mailers, and I picked out the 30 to 40 or 50 streets right near where I was living. So if I got a client, I could walk over, kind of give them that neighborhood friendly feel. I'm right up the street. I know this area well. If you have any questions on the buy side or sell side, let me know. So I had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these flyers made. Another thing that cost me money. I had to fold them. I had to put them in the envelope. I had to stick them, put a stamp. I had to handwrite addresses and get a stamp together. It was a lot of work. And I mailed out hundreds. I mean, the mailman that day must have been like, who the heck is this? Because into the mailbox, I delivered hundreds and hundreds of these mailers. Now, out of the hundreds of mailers I delivered, guess how many clients I got? 0. I'm not saying mailing doesn't work, but for me, it didn't work. Other people have different experiences, I'm sure, but it did not work for me. So I moved on to something that was more in my strong suit. I have decent charisma and a decent ability to speak to people. I lead with honesty and integrity. A lot of these realtors out there, if I'm being perfectly honest, not all of them, but I ran into some that were very dishonest people. They'd sit here and tell you that your cat house was worth $1 million. Let me in. Let's just have a conversation. Let me list it for you. We'll get things taken care of. And now you're kind of linked up with this person, and they kind of oblige you with their services, and they kind of skunk their way in. I didn't like that. I also knew that I wasn't a 30-year experienced realtor, so I led with that. I led with integrity and honesty, and I let people know, listen, I'm no dummy, but I'm not brand new to this. I have experience in the trades. I understand paint colors for a home to help photograph better and make it look more neutral and attractive to prospective buyers. I might not be the most experienced, but I'm part of the varsity team. The team that I was on was super well known in this metro area for doing millions and millions and millions of dollars of business. Okay, so while I was new, I was part of a very strong and a very well-respected team. So I didn't have anything to hide. I didn't have to kind of schmooze my way into deals. So I figured if I could get in front of prospective clients and talk to them, be well dressed, speak well, be respectful, it might work out better rather than a mailer where no one gets to see me really. So I have these pamphlets that they look really good, put on some nice attire, and I go to do some door knocking. Well, the first door I knocked on, the biggest dog you could imagine, a German Hoverwart or something like that, came flying through the house and slammed into the door and was barking like crazy. All I did was knock. The homeowner came running over and was like, "What in the heck do you want?" I said, "Oh, I'm so-and-so, I'm a realtor, you're thinking of buying or selling? No, get away from me, no solicitors." I said, "How about this? I'll leave you my pamphlet. I'm very sorry about this." They said, "Heck no, I want nothing to do with you." So that was my first experience with door knocking. Now, I'm in the hole $3,000. I got to make some money. I'm not here to take a loss. I got to keep going. And I was so discouraged with 0 leads on the mailers. Door knocking is not turning out well, but I did keep going down the street. I met a lot of nice people, got to know some people, and some people took my flyers, and I was able to get a few leads for a lender to help them refinance, because remember during 2020, mortgage rates dropped very low. So I was, in some sort of like secondary affiliated way, I was starting to get a little bit of a network, right? Maybe down the line, if those people wanted to sell, they'd reach out to that loan officer and say, "Hey, is this guy, still around?" "Yeah, here he is." And maybe a lead would come to me that way. It's this big web of leads, and they're not all direct. People are definitely not going to show up to your door and say, "Hey, I heard you're a realtor. Can you help me buy or sell?" "Sure, let's do it." It's just going to take some time. And those are some of the things I did that didn't work out for me when it came to trying to drum up some business. But some of the things I realized that did work is it's just going to take time. If you're a realtor starting out, you might do rentals. There's nothing wrong with that. You help get someone into an apartment. They have a good experience with you. The pay's not that great, but as time goes on and that client saves up money, they get a promotion, they meet someone, they get married. Now they're looking to buy a house, and they say, "Hey, so-and-so's a realtor. Let's reach out. Want to help us buy a house?" "Sure, let's do it." You help them buy a house. 5, 6, 7 years later, they have some kids. They start to outgrow their house. They say, "Hey, will you help us sell our house and then buy a new house?" Absolutely. Now, in the course of 8 to 10 years, you've got 4 deals. You get a rental, their starter home, selling that starter home, and then their bigger home. You can see that being a realtor takes a lot of time to be successful. And much of it is just, can you outlast people who don't have the patience or the market or the client base to make it this long, to get repeat business? So that's something that's going to work for you. If you're ready to do this for the long term, you're going to have success. If you're just trying to make a quick, easy buck, you're not going to have very much success. Now, in the short, more immediate time span of trying to drum up business, I didn't lead in conversations saying, "Hey, I'm so-and-so, I'm a realtor, do you want to buy a house?" That didn't come off. I didn't like that. It didn't come off well. I didn't like if car salesman was like that. I wouldn't like that if the solar panel guy came to my house. I didn't like that. Very salesy. But if the conversation carried on and people were saying, I'm thinking about moving or buying a house and getting out of the city or whatnot, I would then say like, "Hey, just so you know, I'm licensed realtor, no pressure. But if you want to tour some houses, let's go check some stuff out." And that worked a little bit, and I got a couple of Zillow leads as well. That worked out well. And I think if you lead with a dishonest approach, a high pressure, "I'm a realtor, here I am, here's my card," people don't like that. But if you lead with honesty and an integrity, a value system based off of integrity, it can go a long way. And at times, if you want to cross the bridge, you got to pay the toll. Hate to say it, you got to pay a couple $100 a month to Zillow or Redfin to get some of these online leads, and it works out. People will come to you. And once I got people near me and they realized I knew what I was talking about, I was part of a good team, I had experience in the trades, I knew a lot about painting and issues with homes and cracked foundations and energy transfer for windows, for energy efficiency, and the whole litany of things that I was really good at. Once I got people to realize I knew what I was doing and I was trustworthy, I had a lot of success. Now, what made me get out of real estate is the last thing I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to share some of the responsibilities that you're going to have as a realtor. Why I got out of real estate, it was 2022 to 2023. Interest rates started to rise. And a lot of the people my age, around 30 years old at the time, their budgets weren't that great. They didn't have a lot of money. They weren't looking into rental properties. They just wanted to get their single family starter home. But as those interest rates started to rise, it started to push a lot of buyers out of the market. They couldn't afford to buy anymore. And even when interest rates were low, there was a whole bunch of competition, and I didn't feel comfortable leading buyers into these crazy over-asking scenarios. I didn't want buyers to waive inspections. I didn't want buyers to overextend themselves, because unlike a lot of people out there in the sales world, I actually have a conscience, and I lose sleep over that, because I am a big believer in karma and the universe kind of keeping tabs on things. So I realized that I didn't have what it took, both as a conscience-based person, but also I didn't have the longevity and repeat business to continue to sustain myself as a realtor. And every year, those association fees were coming back, the MLS fees, I had to re-up my insurance every year, right? I had a lot of repeat fees, and I didn't have a lot of repeat business. So I realized interest rates were going to remain high for a while, and they still are. I realized inflation was going to keep going up as the government continued to just print money out of thin air, and it did. And that was going to lead to most of my clients in my sphere of influence were going to be priced out of the market for the most part. Or they were going to already have had homes with interest rates in the 2.5% range. They had what's called the golden handcuffs. They're not selling. They don't want to trade up to a 7% rate. So I realized real quickly, I did the calculus, and that continuing to be a realtor was not going to be profitable for me. It was going to take a long time. It was going to take massive macroeconomic changes for me to start getting more business. And I didn't have time to wait around for that. And I've started doing other things now to make money, to keep multiple streams of income coming in as best as I can as I navigate this life. But that's that. That's my story about being a realtor. And quickly, some of the responsibilities you're going to have. There's two sides of a deal. There's the buyer side and there's the seller side. And if you're on the buyer side as a realtor, your best interest, you're looking out for your client's best interest. At least you're supposed to. You might sign some papers and say, yep, that's my best interest there. I've signed that saying so. But as I learned, a lot of realtors had no problem telling their clients to go way over asking. Maybe the house only appraises for $500, but their offer is $600. Get them to sign what's called an appraisal gap, really getting their clients in over water, saying things like, you date the rate and marry the house, meaning that, yeah, interest rates are high, but you can refinance soon when rates come down. They haven't. I just didn't have it in me to do that. I really had my client's best interest at heart. When I went to bed at night, I had to ask myself, was I being honest? Was I doing the best I could? And I did. But that often led to me almost dissuading my clients to not make bad moves, because some of the things you're responsible for are looking out for problems with the house, problems with the neighborhood, some things that are keeping an eye out for some things that are foreseeable or unforeseeable, making sure that my clients would get an inspection, making sure that they didn't over leverage themselves, and having a good relationship with the bank to make sure that when I sent them to this bank, they were going to get taken care of. There's a whole bunch of things that you have to do as a realtor on the buyer side to protect your buyers. And if you just do a one-off deal and kind of sleaze your way through a deal as a realtor, yeah, you might generate some numbers, but if you leave a bad taste in those clients' mouth, they're never going to reach out to you again. Once again, the real estate game, being a realtor, you got to think the long game. You want these people to remember you as trustworthy, knowledgeable, someone that they would invite over for a party. You want to generate repeat business, so when they go to move, they think about you again. So there's some of the responsibilities as a buyer. Now, on the seller side, your responsibility is to get your client the best price possible. You want to help them get good photos. You have to have a good photographer. You want to help them maybe get someone to clean up their yard. So having a good landscaper or a painter even to get the house a nice fresh coat of paint to help them take good photos and attract as many buyers as possible. That way, when all the offers come in, you don't just want to have 1 or 2 or 3 offers. You want 10, all right? You want your sellers to get as much money as possible, and you want to generate as many offers as possible to leverage those buyers as much as possible. And you're going to be able to do that for them if you get them a good paint job, clean up their yard, increase their curb appeal, help them understand that pricing is about 80% of the battle. If you overprice your house because you want to get $1 million for your house, it's not going to sell. No house in this area has even sold remotely for that price. But let me show you something. Here on 123 Main Street and 125 Main Street, 127 Main Street, they've sold for $500,000, $510,000, and $520,000. If we price your house at $499,000, you're going to be the new kid on the block. You're going to be the coolest, most attractively priced house in the neighborhood. All those buyers out there in that range, they're going to come swarming to your house, right? They're going to swamp these open houses. They're not going to look at those other houses, right? Maybe a little bit, but you're the cheapest and you're the best around. You're the best deal on the shelf. Everyone's going to come to your house. Everyone's going to put an offer in. And then we can leverage all those offers, especially the top ones, against one another to get you top dollar, all right? So in a nutshell, I learned a lot being a realtor. I learned about some of the legal aspects. I learned about the tax side of things of real estate investing. I met many awesome people along the way. I had some very disappointing times that I'll do in a different video. Some of the things lessons that I learned, and a couple of the miscellaneous things I'm going to put into videos. So if you're enjoying this and you like this content and you got something to share, please subscribe to the channel, drop a comment below. And if you found value in this video, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that like button. And that's that. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you very much.